Grand Theft Auto is going to cost $100. And don't say, oh, but that's the premium version. Because not really. We're currently redefining what a premium version is in gaming. And with those choices, gamers are realizing the $60 game is dead and it ain't coming back. There was a time when buying a video game was remarkably simple. And honestly, it wasn't that long ago. You walked into the store, picked a game up off the shelf, you handed over your $60, and you went home. Once that disc was in the console, that was the experience. There weren't multiple editions to compare, premium currencies to buy, or storefronts waiting for you on the main menu. The game you purchased was, for the most part, the game that developers intended you to play. Sure, there were exceptions. Expansion packs existed, downloadable content wasn't unheard of, but those editions usually felt exactly like what they claimed to be, extra content. They weren't the expectation, they were the bonus. And today, that experience looks very different. You buy the game for $70, before you check out, you're presented with a deluxe edition for $99, and then there's the ultimate edition for $120. That version usually includes early access, a season pass, exclusive skins, bonus currency, and promises of future content that haven't even been revealed yet. Once the game launches, you're greeted by a battle pass, a cosmetic store, limited time bundles, seasonal events, premium currencies, expansion DLC, and then when you get out of all of those menus, there's another battle pass because it's been 3 months. Before long, a game that once could have cost $60 has quietly become a platform capable of generating hundreds of dollars from every player. That's why people say the $60 video game is dead, not because the sticker price increased, but because the relationship between players and publishers fundamentally changed. Games are no longer designed simply to be sold. They're designed to keep you inside of their ecosystem. And once you understand that shift, nearly every major trend in modern AAA gaming starts to make sense. The first sign that things were changing came when publishers began raising the price of AAA games from $60 to $70 roughly 6 years ago. The explanation seemed straightforward enough when you realize that games had become dramatically more expensive to produce. Development teams had gone from dozens of developers to several hundred. Some projects now involve multiple studios spread across different countries. Budgets routinely climb into the hundreds of millions of dollars, and development cycles that once lasted 2 or 3 years can now stretch beyond 5 and 6. On top of that, technology has become much more demanding. Players expect photorealistic graphics, cinematic performances, enormous open worlds, accessibility features, constant patches, and support across multiple platforms. Those expectations aren't free. Inflation also played a role. $60 in 2005 simply doesn't carry the same purchasing power it does today. Viewed in isolation, the move to $70 is understandable. But players weren't looking at the price increase in isolation. They noticed something else. When games became more expensive, the other forms of monetization didn't disappear. Microtransactions, cosmetic shops, paid downloadable content, all those things stayed, and then battle passes arrived. In some cases, monetization actually became more aggressive. And that changed the conversation. Instead of asking whether $70 was justified, many players began asking a different set of questions. If development costs require a higher upfront price, why does every other revenue stream still exist? The issue was never just the extra $10. It was the realization that the purchase price had become only one part of a much larger business model. Buying a new AAA game today often feels less like buying a product and more like selecting how much fun you want to have with the game. You rarely see one version anymore. Instead, there are multiple tiers. The standard edition, the deluxe edition, the ultimate edition, and sometimes even there's a collector's edition on top of that. Years ago, premium editions were easy to understand. They came with physical collectibles, a steelbook case, an art book, a soundtrack, and maybe even a statue for the dedicated fans. The game itself was still the same. Today, those premium editions increasingly revolve around digital incentives, exclusive character skins, special weapons, bonus XP boosts, virtual currency, future downloadable content, season passes. Sometimes missions or cosmetic packs that won't be available to everyone else for months. The product isn't necessarily changing, the perception of it is. Publishers understand something marketers have known for decades. People judge value by comparison. Once multiple editions exist, the standard version no longer feels like the complete package. It becomes the entry-level option. Even if the standard edition contains the full game, the presence of higher-priced editions creates the feeling that you're opting out of something. That's a powerful psychological shift. Nobody enjoys feeling like they're buying a lesser version of the product they're excited about. Instead of asking, "Do I want this game?" players increasingly ask, "What version am I supposed to buy?" This decision becomes less about entertainment and more about maximizing value before the game has even released. The craziest money-making strategy isn't cosmetic at all. It's early access. For years, studios tried convincing players to upgrade by offering extra content. Eventually, they realized something even more valuable could be sold: your time. Instead of saying, buy this edition because it includes additional items, the message became, buy this edition so you can play 4 days earlier. Nothing about the game changes. You're just paying for access before everyone else. And at first glance, that sounds insignificant because it's only a few days. But launch week is often when excitement is at its highest for these big AAA releases. The community is discovering secrets together, streamers are collaborating and broadcasting nonstop, and social media is flooded with clips from those streams. Playing later doesn't simply mean starting later. It can mean missing moments surrounding a game's release. In multiplayer games, early access can even provide practical advantages. Players who begin earlier may even learn the maps, unlock equipment, and gain progression before everyone else has even fired their first shot. Whether intentional or not, early access transforms launch into two separate events, one for premium buyers and another for everyone else. In effect, studios have turned release day into another premium feature. It's an elegant business strategy because it doesn't require creating additional content, because the game already exists. Only the calendar changes for the player. The biggest shift in modern gaming isn't the higher price tag. It's the industry shift away from selling finished products and moving towards games as a service. The term SaaS has been used forever, and gas is no different. For decades, the business model was simple. A studio developed a game, players purchased it, and after the support eventually ended for that first title, the studio moved on to a sequel. Success depended largely on how many copies were sold during that first launch. Today, success is measured very differently. Publishers increasingly ask one question above all others: how long can we keep players engaged? That single question explains many modern design decisions. Battle passes reward consistent play over several months rather than a single weekend. Daily login bonuses encourage habits instead of occasional visits. Limited time cosmetics create urgency by making players feel that they'll miss something if they stop playing. None of these systems are inherently bad. The problem arises when engagement becomes the primary design goal. The longer someone remains inside a game's ecosystem, they are more likely to spend money on additional items. That's why live service games became so attractive to publishers. Titles like Fortnite demonstrated that a single game could generate revenue for years rather than months. The success of the live service model reshaped the industry's ambitions. Publishers weren't simply trying to make great games anymore. They were trying to create systems capable of holding players' attention indefinitely. The appeal is obvious. Instead of convincing someone to buy a sequel every few years, you encourage them to keep investing in the same game through cosmetics, battle passes, and seasonal content. For companies, recurring revenue is more predictable than relying solely on one major launch. But this strategy has also produced failures. Many studios have chased the live service model only to discover how difficult it is to compete with these big established giants. Players only have so much free time. If they're already invested in Fortnite, Destiny, Apex, or Call of Duty, convincing them to abandon those ecosystems is incredibly difficult. Success in live service isn't just about making a good game. It's about convincing players to leave another one. This is where the conversation becomes more emotional than financial. Most players understand that games cost money to make, and no one expects hundreds of developers to work for free. Players regularly support studios that they trust. They buy meaningful expansion packs, they purchase cosmetic items they really like, and some even subscribe to online services just because they feel that the value justifies the cost. The frustration isn't simply spending money. It's feeling as though every aspect of the experience has become another opportunity to monetize. When the main menu shoves a store down your throat before encouraging you to play, or when progression feels intentionally slow unless you purchase a level boost, or when content appears segmented into multiple future purchases, players naturally begin questioning the priorities behind those decisions. Were these features created because they improve the game, or because they improve revenue? That uncertainty changes the relationship between developers and players. Trust becomes harder to maintain. Every design decision is examined through a business lens. Eventually, good features are also met with skepticism just because players wonder whether another monetization system is waiting around the corner. Once that trust begins to erode, rebuilding it becomes incredibly difficult. To be fair, publishers aren't operating in an easy environment. Modern game development is expensive. Teams are larger than ever. Players expect years of updates, anti-cheat systems, cross-platform support, and regular new content through updates and patches. Those ongoing costs don't end once the game launches. The traditional box game model was built for an industry that looked entirely different. It's reasonable to argue that many modern projects couldn't survive on a single upfront purchase alone. The business model has undeniably evolved. Games have shifted from one-time purchases to long-term ecosystems designed to retain attention and generate recurring revenue. That's what people really mean when they say the $60 video game is dead. They're not mourning a specific price point. They're mourning the expectation that paying once meant owning the complete experience. Today, buying a game often marks the beginning of a financial relationship rather than the end of the transaction. Sometimes that relationship feels worthwhile. A well-supported game with meaningful updates can provide years of entertainment. Other times, it can feel like every menu, every event, and every feature exists to encourage another purchase. The future of gaming will likely continue balancing these two realities. Publishers need sustainable revenue, and players want experiences that respect their time, their money, and their trust. The most successful games won't simply be the ones that earn the most. They'll be the ones that convince players that staying inside the ecosystem is worth it, not because they're constantly being sold something, but because the game itself remains compelling. Because in the end, the real debate was never about the $60 or $70 or $100. It's about whether modern games are still designed primarily to entertain, or increasingly designed to monetize that entertainment over time. If you've watched this far, thank you very much, and I'll see you in the next one.
Got change for $5.
Got it.
Change me
All
up.
right.
Oh, man,
All
get
right,
my $5 on me.
All right, bro.
Man, get my $5 on me. Ah! Ah! Get my $5 on! Get my $5 on! Get my motherfucking $5 man. Man, stop playing me, man. Get my $5.